All right, I got my snacks here. I went to a corner shop, and I don't know if you know that feeling, but you live in London and it's rainy outside, but it's still quite warm because we're just in the beginning of September. I entered this corner shop that has like all the funky snacks, even an aisle with like American snacks. And I bought Arizona iced tea, and then I bought a fake version of Cheetos because the Cheetos were freaking £9, yeah? And this one was actually more affordable. So I was like, let me get that. And then I also got Candy Kittens, Disco Dreams, the sour ones. They are genuinely amazing. So today I wanted to talk about all the things that I've learned after living in London for 8 years in terms of friendships. Because friendships in London are very, very difficult. And I do think that London is a very special city, which is why I think that it is quite special. And the friendships that you have here, it is quite difficult to maintain friendships and make friendships, especially as an international. So I moved to London 8 years ago, and it's been tough. Like, I met so many people along the way, but not many people stuck. One of my closest friends, I actually met her around like the first 2 weeks of living in London on Bumble BFF. Funnily enough, I was actually on there as a party promoter because I was working for this nightclub here, and I was trying to get cool girls to go to this like fancy nightclub in Mayfair. So that's what I did. But we're still friends, and so that's really amazing, and I love her, and it was definitely a good idea. So don't shy away from using like social media platforms. I think nowadays there's like even more platforms that make it easier to find people that really want to find friends. So just to let you know, like, I obviously grew up in Germany, and so friendships in Germany just felt so much easier. I do think that like the dynamics of a big city play a huge part and impact friendships, and I think they make them more difficult. They don't make them easier. Because if you think about it, like in Germany, everybody would have a car. There's a lot of like car sharing platforms. So you can just get a car, even in a big city like Berlin, and like drive to your friend after work. And here, like, commuting already kills you, let alone commuting after work to get to your friend and then going back home, and possibly that person lives on the other side of London, and it just makes it so tiring. Like, it's just really, really difficult. So during the week, I barely meet any friends unless they live like very close to me. And then on the weekend, there's not that much time left, especially when you're an adult and you have your routine. And Sundays, for example, today is like super sacred to me. And so I don't really do much on Sunday. And then on Saturday, you do things, but that's like only one day during the week. Another main difference that I found between like living in London and in Germany is the fact that obviously, because rent is so expensive here, people live in flat shares. And because of that, like, you have shared living spaces, and you can't just invite people over because you're making like a nice brunch or breakfast, because it's just like inappropriate, I would say, and you want to respect the people that you live with. Whereas in Germany, I feel like in order to grow a friendship, you invite them into your home. That's like, I think, a big step to kind of grow this friendship and strengthen it. In Germany, it's like really, really normal that you invite people over to your house to have like breakfast, and you make like a nice brunch and everything. So I think that was also one thing. Sorry, let me clip you on. I think the fact that you can't just like invite, or people don't really do it. And like, I tried to explain this to my boyfriend, who obviously grew up in London, and I told him like, it's like such a normal thing to invite people to your house to have breakfast. And when he came to Germany and he experienced that, he was like, I get what you mean now. You just sit, on a table and you have breakfast and you just talk for hours and hours. And here, if you have brunch with somebody, first of all, the first thing you have to do is you have to get a reservation like 10 years in advance. And the second thing is, if you're just two people, they will freaking like kick you out after 1.5 hours, because you only get to keep the table for 1.5 hours. So even that, because London is so capitalistic, they're not going to let you keep the table for much longer. And it's not the fault of the restaurant. It's just because everything is so expensive here, and they try to like obviously like generate money. And so you only get to keep the table for like 1.5 hours. And then it's like, okay, what do we do now? Like, everything is expensive. So most of the time, like, your meet up with your friend in London that you're catching up with will only last like 2 hours max, maximum 3 hours. Whereas like when you're at a friend's house, like, you stay there for hours, sometimes a whole day, and you have a good time, right? So I think that is like one of the key differences. It's because rent is expensive, so you live in flat shares, and that's why you don't really invite people over to have breakfast. You rather like meet them outside. Another thing I noticed is the fact that you have to like reconfirm. So if you make plans in advance with somebody, you have to like reconfirm 3 times, like a minimum 2 times before the actual meetup, to make sure that people are not canceling. And that was something I really had to get used to, because otherwise people think, oh, I mean, if I didn't get reminded, or if this is not like, if I didn't talk to that person like a day or 2 before, this meetup is not going ahead. So you get those messages like, hey, are we still on for Saturday? or hey, like, are we still meeting? And I feel like in Germany, when you make plans with somebody, you stick to them. You don't really like ask twice or 3 times to reconfirm whether you're meeting up or not. People are very flaky here. That's what I also realized. Like, so often you talk about, oh, let's get this coffee, let's catch up, and it just never really goes ahead. Because I think like to put in effort in friendships here is also really, really difficult because the city is just so hard. Like, to live here, to make a living here, to I don't know, like, it's just so hard. And that's why like putting in effort into friendship is just so much more difficult than somewhere else. Another thing I noticed is that like a lot of my friendships never made it beyond London. So around COVID, I think I lost a lot of good friendships. Well, afterwards, it was kind of like the aftermath of COVID. But because a lot of people, internationals, they went home for like literally 3 months, 6 months, you were able to work remotely. And I kind of noticed that like these friendships didn't really go beyond London. So by that, I mean like once they're at home, you don't really hear from them anymore. You know, like they don't really call you to catch up. And then when they're back, they're like, hey, I'm back in London, like let's meet up. Whereas I feel like friendships should like go beyond borders. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, right? Like if you're a friend and you get along and you have a friendship, it shouldn't just be like limited to where you live. Like for example, London. And that's what I found really, really difficult as well. I'm actually gonna try these crisps now. Ooh, they actually look like Cheetos. These are good. And so like after COVID, I lost a lot of friends. And then when they moved back home, I never heard from them again. And that was really hurtful too, because like, for example, I had this friend that I went to uni with for years and years. We were friends. And when she was in London, our friendship was thriving. But when she moved back home, I never heard from her again. And genuinely, when I think about this, it makes me very upset. After so many years of living in London, I also came to the conclusion that I'm not forcing friendships and I just let them. Like if this is what you want to do, I'll let you do it. And if you don't want to reach out to me anymore, I won't force you. And I mean, with her, she was always quite special. Like, she was paranoid. She always thought something was wrong, and you know, anyways. But I do see that there's like this red thread of like a lot of internationals that move to London. They kind of look for their group of friends, and then when they move away, you never hear from them again. I think like these are really things that you have to consider before you move to London, because it's so different to any other cities. Like, even in Berlin, like a big city, you kind of drive. New York, I think, is very similar to London. So, you know, I've lived there for some time and I had a good time, but I was a student back then and it's not real life. But I do think that like making friendships in New York is equally as difficult like in London, because the cities are so similar. But like, for example, I think like there are big cities, but when you have a car and you drive and it's like a normal thing to do, I think it makes you more mobile, and therefore like it's easier to meet up kind of because you can just jump into your car and so on. But these are really things that you kind of have to like consider before moving to London, because boy, like yeah, it's been tough. But yeah, it's been really, really tough to like build friendships here, to find friends, to maintain friendships, to strengthen friendships, you know, and to keep friendships going as an adult who works like 5 times a week and only has the weekend, and you try to like also keep fit, and you know, you also have a partner that you spend time with. But it's been really, really difficult for me to like, I don't know, like have friendships. And I think like that's why sometimes I miss like Germany, because even people that I just met in Germany, like new friendships with like people in Germany, even those friendships are so different. Like, we check in with each other, and when I'm back in Germany, they invite me to their house and we spend time with each other and we just have conversations. And like, even my boyfriend, who was born and raised in the UK, he even told me like after meeting so many of my friends that I was right. And he said, I completely understand what you mean. Like, sitting with your friends at their house and just like talking. It's so different to like friendships in the UK, where like, yeah, it's like where, you know, even being spontaneous is already a mission, because you need a restaurant reservation 10 years in advance, and everything is fully booked and everything is expensive, and it costs you an arm and a leg to even step out of your house. But yeah, if you enjoyed watching this, then I would recommend subscribing to me, because I'm going to be talking more about these things in the future. I am currently starting this YouTube channel, and like, I just enjoy talking about my experiences for living in London. I like to travel, and I like to talk about all the things that are related to my career. I'm a freelancer in influencer marketing. I'm a marketing consultant. So if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to me, please.